Gareth Southgate has announced an England squad for the games against Italy and Germany, the UEFA Nations League. We don't care about, but this is going to be a massive insight into what Gareth Southgate is thinking, what players he's potentially going to take to the World Cup in Qatar, which is a matter of months away. So it's time to start wrapping our head around who is going on that plane and who is not, what players are dead sets to start, and what players are potentially going to be great backup options that might not start, but we need on that plane. So, without further ado, let's get straight into this squad. Goalkeepers, we've got Dean Henderson, Nick Pope and Aaron Ramsdale. Now, the obvious absentee there is there's no Jordan Pickford, but I'm imagining Pickford is such a dead cert for Gareth Southgate. He doesn't need to see him, and he wants to give these other goalkeepers a test, as I'm sure all of them will at least get a half against Italy and Germany. I think Aaron Ramsdale's meteoric rise into that Arsenal first 11 and what he's done since he's held down that number one shirt is sort of unmatched. He has grown into that role and he has been outstanding goalkeeper. So for me, if Pickford was unable to go, was unable to start, I would pick Aaron Ramsdale, and that is no slight against Dean Henderson or Nick Pope, who are also fantastic keepers. And can I just say, this is the first time England have been blessed with so many outstanding goalkeepers. The days of Joe Hart and Rob Green, and we have always scrambled for goalkeepers. And now I feel like we've got some goalkeepers who I'd be happy with any of them starting, honestly. Jordan Pickford, I used to have a lot of doubts about Jordan Pickford, but for some reason when he plays for England, he definitely raises his game and seems a lot more assured, and I feel more confident in him than perhaps when I see him play for Everton. But he's had a fantastic start to the season this year and a great end to the season last season. So it's hard to displace Pickford on that merit, but if you're going off ability alone, perhaps any of these keepers could pip Pickford to it. So it's a tough one. I can't see Gareth Southgate displacing Jordan Pickford, but for me, I would want to take Aaron Ramsdale, Jordan Pickford, and maybe Nick Pope. That's a tough one. For me, it's a toss-up between Dean Henderson and Nick Pope to go in as the final three. Defenders, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Ben Chilwell, Connor Cody, Eric Dyer, Mark Guehi, Reece James, Harry Maguire, Luke Shaw, John Stones, Fikayo Tomori, Kieran Trippier, and Kyle Walker. Trent Alexander-Arnold is a dead cert. Reece James is a dead cert. Fikayo Tomori and Mark Guehi, for me, are dead certs. John Stones is a dead cert. Kyle Walker, you bring, for me, the back, just that experience is priceless. And that is a player who, for me, yeah, he may lose a bit of pace, but his knowledge of the game, his IQ in that position is just second to none. So for me, Kyle Walker goes. Kieran Trippier, we know, is a big favourite of Gareth Southgate. But if you just look at, and he's been fantastic since he's come to Newcastle, so fair play to him. And I do really like Kieran Trippier, especially set-piece specialist. But when you've got Trent Alexander-Arnold, Reece James, I mean, pretty tough one, you know. I know Reece James is very versatile. He can play in that right-sided centre-back if needed. But how many right-sided defenders can you take there? It's a tough one. Eric Dyer has been in fantastic form for Tottenham. I'm sure if he continues, he'll go. He's been a staple in Gareth Southgate's England teams as well. Connor Cody shows great form. I think he's solid. I'm not sure he's definitely a player I would take, but we are lacking centre-backs, I guess. Mark Guehi and Fikayo Tomori for me over Connor Cody. Harry Maguire is obviously the talking point. What do we do about that Harry Maguire conundrum? Plays well for England, is not even starting for Ten Hag at United. Everything seems to have gone on the incline since Ten Hag dropped Harry Maguire and Luke Shaw. So do they warrant going? Do they warrant starting? Surely not. And if you're not going to start them, I'm not sure you can really take them. But as we know, Gareth Southgate is a big fan of these players, and you know, Luke Shaw played outstanding in the Euros last year, and then it just all went downhill again for United. They've got the experience, and England have done so well in our last two tournaments. You know, a final and a semi-final. we can't be too upset with that, and those are the players that started. So, despite their poor club form, their experience in an England shirt is top tier. On to the midfielders: Jude Bellingham, Mason Mount, Calvin Phillips, Declan Rice, James Ward-Prowse. Now, I know Calvin Phillips has withdrawn with a shoulder injury, and he's potentially ruled out for the entire World Cup as well. Pep Guardiola saying he needs surgery, and that is a big loss. Calvin Phillips was outstanding last year at the Euros, so he is a big miss. I really liked his discipline in that role. He assisted for one of our goals in the Euros. He was a solid force in that DM position. Him and Declan Rice, I thought, were very good. But Jude Bellingham has come in, and the form that he's in, and the ability of this guy, you'd imagine that is a huge upgrade on Calvin Phillips, putting Jude Bellingham straight in that starting 11. I know Jordan Henderson has come in, who's not been playing for Liverpool. I like Hendo. I like the experience he's got. You know, he's definitely someone you want in that squad. But if someone misses out there, then I think Henderson can be very fortunate that Calvin Phillips has missed out there, because I'm not sure he would go. Now you've got Mason Mount, Declan Rice, dead certs for me. Chelsea bias, maybe. Mason Mount hasn't had the great start to the season, but I think he does offer something that a lot of those other players do not. He's very versatile. He can press, he can attack, he can take it on the half turn. And I think only Jude Bellingham and perhaps Declan Rice in that midfield selection can do the same. James Ward-Prowse, I was a big advocate for him to go to the Euros. I'm not sure he should go in this squad, but he does give you something, and perhaps he does deserve it on merit. I haven't seen much of him this season. I'm not sure what he's really brought to the table in that Southampton team, who are a fantastic outfit this year, but I'm not sure about James Ward-Prowse, but perhaps in that squad list, it's not a bad option to go to. Now for the forwards: Tammy Abraham, Jared Bowen, Phil Foden, Jack Grealish, Harry Kane, Bukayo Saka, Raheem Sterling and Ivan Toney. Tammy Abraham, for me, he's been brilliant for Roma. He's such an awkward striker for defenders to play against. He doesn't need much. He can take it in difficult positions and bring it down. He's very, very versatile. I don't see any player really in that forward line that can quite do what he can do. He's a poacher. So for me, Tammy Abraham is a dead cert to go. Jared Bowen hasn't been in the greatest form this year for West Ham. West Ham have been poor really all over, so it's quite hard to pin that on Jared Bowen. But last season he would get them out of trouble, create moments of magic, and I haven't seen that from him this season. But I suppose on merit, he's a good player to take. Not sure there. I think Jadon Sancho can feel quite hard done by that Jared Bowen gets on that plane. I think Jadon Sancho has been brilliant this season under Ten Hag. He's really got his head down, and he's really churning out a lot of good performances, getting goals, getting assists. I'm not sure Jared Bowen's inclusion here is warranted over Jadon Sancho. Phil Foden, dead cert. Jack Grealish has not been great. Yes, he scored on the weekend. Since he's come to Man City, he hasn't set it alight, but he does give you that something. You can pull it out of the bag. You don't know what you're going to get from him, and that is a kind of player that I would definitely take. He's a big favourite amongst a lot of England supporters, so I think Jack Grealish just about edges his way into this squad. Harry Kane, dead cert. What do we need to say about Kane? Bukayo Saka, for me, is a dead cert. I think he's absolutely fantastic, and he's putting in another solid season at Arsenal. Raheem Sterling, again, he's come to Chelsea. He's probably been one of the most consistent players at a team that is really struggling, and every time he plays for England, he just plays. He's outrageous. He might potentially go missing in some games, and he pops up with a goal. All his movement is what gets him in and amongst the ranks and in and amongst the goals. And I just feel like Raheem Sterling is a dead cert for me. And I think Gareth Southgate is 100% going to take him. There's not really a world he doesn't take him. Ivan Toney is the new man that steps into this England squad, and he's been brilliant. I thought when Brentford came up last year, obviously he was brilliant in the Championship. I wasn't sure that was going to translate to the Prem, and we saw glimpses of it last year. I wasn't one of those people who, after his first season, was like, yeah, like he's definitely he's going to be a scorer in this league for many years to come. I wasn't sure. I thought maybe it could just be a purple patch here and there. Obviously had the talent. Not sure it was going to translate into consistency. But what I've seen from him this season, I think he can pull it out of his pocket whenever he wants. Like, he definitely can turn it on. And that hat-trick the other day was just outrageous. You know, the different types of goals he can score. He's a set-piece specialist, which is, you know, if we're going to be taking pens, we want Ivan Toney perhaps coming on and taking one of those penalties for us. So I think the biggest problem is the defenders as well. Like, we've got a lot of defenders that are quite similar, that play in the same position. So some of those are surely going to miss out. You know, Kyle Walker, Kieran Trippier, Trent Alexander-Arnold and Reece James. Like, that's four right backs basically. We know Trent can't play anywhere else. He's not going to start playing in centre mid all of a sudden for the World Cup. Reece James can play as a right-sided centre back. What he's going to do with Trent and Reece James is going to be very interesting. For me, Reece James starts. But I guess you take it on the get on what opponent you're facing. Do you need a bit of that Trent spontaneity, or do you need that solid efficiency from Reece James, who's going to bomb forward as well? Harry Maguire, Luke Shaw, they're the ones that I think is the real headlines from this squad. Do they deserve it? We knew Gareth Southgate was going to pick them at least for this. I think they'll start against Germany and Italy. They need to make a case for why they deserve to go. But guys, it's an interesting squad. International football is back. It's coming thick and fast. I'll do a review for the game against Italy and Germany. And it's time to start speculating who is going to go, who is not, what are our chances, who are our opponents. We've got Iran, United States and Wales. Like, these are interesting teams to play, and how we're going to face and what sort of lineup we're going to play should all be discussed in due time. But let me know what you think about this video. I'll see you in the next one. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. I'll see you in the next one.